and efficient. So good to see everybody. It is that time of year again, or time of the month again, rather. So we have a quorum. We're good to go. We have lots of staff present. Oh, and look at Lorelei's got her little girl with her. Oh, she's so cute, folks. If you haven't met her yet, she really is cute. So, and a reminder that it's an open meeting and we have to follow the open meeting law. And with that, we're going to move right on into announcements, excuse me. So I would ask the board if any of you have any announcements you'd like to make.
Would that be the time for me to report on committee stuff that I've been following?
You could do it then.
I don't care. I'm prepared either way.
Either way, would you like to do it now? You certainly can, because it's of interest, I think, to everybody.
Yes. I will.
Go right ahead.
From the Affordable Housing Trust.
Yep.
Those meetings. They are looking toward going out for a request for proposal to doing I don't want to say reconstruction, but renovating the farmhouse at Durkee Farm for into maybe a couple of units for affordable units, and also in the brown land on Tehadawin. There's a section of that came with the grant, etc., that is being turned over to Affordable Housing Trust to put up a affordable housing unit or duplex or something. So that's from Affordable Housing Trust. From the planning board, basically they're right now very much not hung up, I don't mean it in the wrong way, but involved with the former IBM site. And part of that's of interest to us and to seniors is that right now, of course, they're looking at that being mixed use, which would be retail or other uses on the lower level, and then an upper level of the buildings being residential. But even more important for us to keep track of is that they are considering one parcel of that land to be a combination of independent living, assisted living, nursing home, sort of a staged aging in place complex. Now that's all just up there in the dream, but it's at least being talked about and thought about.
That's very exciting news.
Yeah, that's worth something. I bring it up only because it's worth following, and our audience out there might be interested in following it in the planning board meetings.
Yes. And
then the other one is Littleton Station area. Last I knew, they were still pushing for the 40R zoning to come before the October town meeting, but there's some new legislation out of the state that will affect land near MBTA train stations. So they have to look at the wording for both of those two things. They've been having meetings which have been on Zoom or live, and maybe they're not live. Maybe they're just Zoom. Actually, that one I can't remember. No, they must be live because they do have an audience. They've been having people talk about the areas of concern, which have been the DPW, conservation, and fire and police. And I've forgotten what's scheduled for the next meeting. So that's me. I'm done.
Wow, you've been busy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank heavens for Zoom, though, because
that is true.
It's easy. Or, I hide away and watch in the evenings on the TV. But yeah.
All right. Anyone else have an announcement? I see Ann Lee's joined us. You're muted anyway, Ann Lee. I think you said no.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. You don't have any announcements?
No. Well,
No.
other than the pantry at the church is still open, and anyone who needs food from it, please help yourself.
Great. Good messages to get out. Anyone else? I have just a couple.
I'll just add, I attended the 9/11 ceremony that they put on at the fire station.
Oh, yes.
You did a really, really good job. The speakers were fantastic. It was brief. The weather was beautiful, and they really put it together nicely. So that was it's a nice remembrance at the event. And just to kind of chime on about the Littleton Common, some of the stuff, we're going to have a very different look of the Common, I think,
Oh,
the next 5 years. We're talking about the front of the IBM, and the developer there is very interested in working with the town. That's why we have all these great ideas that are coming forward that he's receptive to. But also, the center of town with Northern Bank and Trust, that whole side of the road across from Donlands, will have a very different look if all of this comes together. So I think it's an exciting time, just a critical time too, though, make the right decisions, right? So
Right.
let's hope.
and that was great to hear about the Durkee house. I grew up on Grimes Lane,
Oh,
so before the development, of course. So it's nice to see them doing something with that house. It's been there a long time, and it's just great to hear that it's not being knocked down.
Which reminds me, Susan, usually the Affordable Housing Trust meets the second Tuesday of the month, but I seem to recall they changed it for this month.
well,
When is the next meeting?
that's a very good question, because I still had it in my calendar as tomorrow, but I haven't gotten an agenda or anything. So obviously it isn't. Maybe Liz knows.
Oh, well,
I sent a message to Maureen to ask her today when I realized that it was on my calendar for tomorrow, but I haven't heard back yet.
that was one of the reasons I was asking, because I was thinking, oh, I'm not sure Liz is up to speed on that whole piece of things too. So I seem to remember the last meeting, they were talking about changing it because, was it because Cindy Napoli was on vacation this week, or no?
Well, there was one thing that was going to be changed, but then I wrote down that it was going to be changed for September, but I didn't have a date down, so I couldn't tell you for sure. Sorry.
Okay.
Hi, this is Mark.
I was going to say, Matthew joined us. He'll know. He knows everything.
Well, not everything. We're meeting on the 15th. I don't recall, there was a scheduling conflict with our regular time, but
Okay.
it should be posted soon, because we're just waiting for the Zoom info.
Okay. Thanks.
Great.
Matthew.
Thank you. That's great, because I thought I remembered that vaguely, and so,
Well,
and
me
that way.
too, but I
Yeah,
couldn't find it.
So, and Liz gets the heads up too about it. So, and anything else from the rest of you?
I wanted to add one more thing. I'm sorry.
You go right ahead.
Hi, Liz, and welcome back. I've popped by a few times, but I just haven't been able to link up with you. So I just wanted to welcome you, because I haven't seen you yet. So.
Thank you. It's only day 11.
I know.
There's more time.
And she's counting?
She's been pretty busy, let me just tell you. So, and thank you. That's a great segue for me, because that was going to be those were going to be the first words out of my mouth, was that we were welcoming Liz back, and so glad to have her back with us, and excited and lots is going on, as you can tell, just from the beginning here. So lots of things happening in town, and exciting things, I think. So, and then I have a couple of things. And basically, it's just really about events. a wonderful event occurring tomorrow, which unfortunately is filled. I checked on that, and the lunch that the Senator Eldridge and Jim Arserio are putting on is tomorrow, but it is filled. However, I wanted to mention and remind people that were listening that the barbecue that being put on by the police and fire department here in Littleton on, I think it's October. Oh, I don't have the date down. Anyway, it's go ahead.
I think it's the 13th.
I think you might be right. October 13th. It still has openings. And I know I think there's some confusion out there, and people don't realize that if their broadcaster, for example, for September, mentions the police fire department event on October 13th, and you can call in September to register and sign up for anything that is in the broadcaster. That's the only thing you can do in advance of that month. For example, you can't call today to register for Stretch and Flex or other events that are occurring next month. But a unique thing like that has been posted in the broadcaster, it's my understanding that you can call and register, and there are openings still for that. So I would encourage people to mark that down on their calendar and call ahead and sign up. So it's usually a great event. The police department and fire department are very good to seniors in this town. So, and that was it for me, basically. If there are no other announcements, then we can move on. Last call. But of course, you can always make an announcement at the end of the meeting too. So we will then move on to the minutes. And I was saying to, just commenting on how thorough the minutes are, I think. And I thanked Marilyn. I want to thank her publicly. She's doing a great job with them. So, are there any corrections or admissions to the minutes? I only found one. Marilyn, I'm sorry, I didn't catch it, but you put an S in my name at one point, and that's minor. I don't think we have to change that. It's a spelling error. That's it.
No, it'll be a typing error, probably.
Typing error, yeah. So if not, then I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion.
Who is that? David?
Anita got it.
Anita made the motion,
I'll second it.
and David seconding. Okay. All those in favor, just raise your hand, please. It's easier than having to do that roll call, I think. I think we are all in unison. It's unanimous. Thank you. We got that piece of business done. And moving right along. Is Nancy with us? She said she was coming. Nancy Levine, present?
There she is.
There she is, okay. Nancy was going to be doing the funds report. She has to catch us up to date, I think, a little. We'll let her, give her a minute here. There she is, she's coming. Look at that.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yep.
Okay,
We just don't have your picture, but that's okay. We can hear you, Nancy.
okay. As some of you may or may not know, Barbara McRae stepped down. She retired after 30 years. And I am now the president of the Friends. This is a very, very difficult position to fill such wonderful shoes. But I have good support from the Friends Board and from the Council on Aging. I recently had a meeting with Liz, a very positive meeting as to how we're going to work together. And I'm really looking forward to this. Our first venture is tomorrow for the barbecue. And there'll be more, I'm sure. We just have to figure out how we're going to proceed, how we're going to progress. Liz and I already discussed getting together the two boards, Friends and COA, and Liz, and putting on a senior luncheon perhaps in November or December or both. It's an exciting time for us too, especially with Liz on board. Could not be happier. The support that we will receive and they will receive is just heartwarming. And I have to go, guys. I have company here who's trying to organize my house for me. And so this is very, very difficult. So I have to make sure they don't throw anything important away. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Well, thank
Bye-bye.
you, thank you,
Bye, Nan.
Nancy.
If you have
Bye.
any questions, just mention it and Marge will tell me. Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you. She's certainly a busy lady right now with everything going on in her personal life since her husband died and, you know, becoming the president of the Friends. So lots happening. But I'm grateful to her for at least coming on board for a few minutes and sharing, you know, that news so that everybody hears it. I don't know that, you know, the community as a whole realizes the changes yet that have been made in the Friends. So if you have anything you want me to pass on, pass it along to me at some point, or you can give Nancy a call directly yourself. I'm sure she would welcome the call when she has a minute, but I know she's busy with family often during the week. They're coming to help her out, so. Okay. Boy, we're doing good today, everybody. All right, old business is just an update about the senior center. It's always good, I think, to share information, and I just wanted to share the fact, and Nicole can with me. Then Nicole and I participated in another day of visiting two facilities, right, Nicole? Belmont, was it Belmont? I think in Wellesley. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that time we had Drayton Fair from LLB, who is the, I forget, principal architect. I think that's the title or description I was given from LLB Architects. And he was with us as well as Anthony and Joe. So the five of us had a great visit in both unit places. Do you have any comments, Nicole, you'd like to share?
I don't think so. It was really informative and we met the assistant director in Belmont and the director in Wellesley. A lot of good information from both of them that I think will be helpful down the line.
Yep. I don't know about you, but I find it extremely helpful because, you know, these people that have been giving us the tours in the individual facilities are so open and upfront about, you know, this is a good thing. And well, this particular thing, we're not too sure is working well. You know, you might want to think about that. So a lot of good information we're receiving. Yeah. So, and other than that, I don't know much else. I know the feasibility study actually has commenced, and they've started. They've been out there digging and exploring the property. And that isn't targeted to be completed until the end of October or into November, as far as I understand anyway. I think according to the timeline. So we're waiting anxiously to get more information about that. And I think people are excited, you know, about the possibility that we really are going to get a senior center maybe now, pretty soon. So. Anybody else have any other comments about updates or thoughts about what's going on with that issue? Okay.
Anita's talking, but she's muted.
Oh, Anita, she's talking to herself.
I just had a question about the Vision Committee working on the senior center. Is there a plan, like in October, to have a meeting and bring Liz and everybody up to speed as to where to go next?
Well, under new business, I have discussion regarding needs to be addressed regarding progression of increased space for their elders. That's the senior center. So we
All
can
right,
cover
well-
it there. Yeah,
Uh,
we're almost there. So
Okay.
almost to that point on the agenda. So. Okay, so under new business, the first item I put down was just a little bit of planning with the board about the welcome back coffee for Liz on the September 16th. And Nicole and Amy are organizing it and I've talked to Nicole primarily, knowing that she and Amy have been collaborating. And we've been asked as just to help with the paper goods and cookies and lemonade. So if board members could be akin and thinking about providing a dozen cookies or two or whatever, or I think I'd be happy to go to the paper store and pick up, or the dollar store and pick up tablecloths. I think it was tablecloths and napkins.
We don't need a tablecloth. We just need napkins, plates, and cups.
Cups, napkins, and plates.
And actually, we're all set with lemonade too. So
Oh, okay.
the paper goods and cookies.
Cookies. So, do we have anybody that wants to cook? I know I'll contribute. I'll take care of the paper goods, and I will contribute cookies.
I'll make some cookies. But I won't be there on Thursday because I'll be working Thursday afternoon.
Well, you can't sneak away. The boss won't be around. Oh, well, no, she'll see you, won't she? She'll know you snuck away.
Oh, well, because, no, I'm at Park and Rec. It depends, I can sneak away from it.
But you're so close. You could just pop out.
That's what I
Yeah.
said. I can sneak over.
Oh, good. We'd like to see you. We don't get to see each other in person too often either.
No, I can't wait till these meetings are not on Zoom anymore.
I know. All right.
I'm
So, any more donations of cookies from the board members that I can be aware of now? No.
What time does it start?
I can help Marge if you need them.
Lorelei? Okay. I'm sorry, Gary. What did you say? What time is it? It's 12 to 3.
Just 12 to 3. Okay.
Oh, 12 to 3. I thought it was later than that.
It's at 1 o'clock.
Oh, I'm sorry.
1
Okay.
o'clock, Mark.
Oh, I'm so sorry. 1 to 3. 1 to 3 p.m. In the multi-purpose room or out in the patio if it's a nice day, obviously. Going to try to, make it as convenient as possible. So. Okay. If any of you have any other thoughts, give me a call and we'll go from there. It's hard to predict how many people will, come because of COVID, I think, and their concerns. People are concerned. And we know we have the town-wide mandate about masking up, which seems to be working. I've been quite amazed to see everybody being so cooperative when I've been out and around. So. Okay. Now here's the item on the agenda that Anita wanted to talk about. So we're there, Anita.
Okay.
So we talked a lot last month about ideas, about how to get the word out about, things that are going on. And those are all in the minutes, which might be helpful to Liz. A lot of great ideas were put forth. So take it away, Anita.
Well, I'm just wondering, we didn't meet in September.
Right.
And we didn't meet in August. And I think that it's time that we really get the board back, the committee back and working. And now that Liz has had a little 11 days to get oriented, that's all she gets. No, that maybe we can plan a meeting for October and put some of the ideas that have been offered to us in use. And I think going to the football games again is a really good idea to get the word out.
Yeah.
You were meeting the first Monday of the month in
Right.
order to meet close just prior to the board meeting. That would be Monday, October 4th. And I forget the time. It was in the morning, wasn't it?
No, it was 1:30.
1:30, okay. So is it everyone's on the visioning board, it is your wish to, hold a meeting for Mark's benefit because he's here and he needs to know what he's doing. So, are you all in agreement with that?
It's on the 4th?
I've got my book out. Yeah, Monday is the 4th of October. And you were meeting in person, even though, and I don't know about that. We can figure that out later on, but you want to plan to meet that day, everyone?
Which
So-
date? Is it the 17th? The day
No,
before our meeting or the week before that?
no. The first Monday of the month. Oh,
Oh,
I'm sorry. Usually it's been the first Monday of the month.
oh,
Our meeting in October will be late though because of the holiday.
oh, okay. Monday, October 4th.
So if that's what you wish to do.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that.
Anybody, Mark, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I am fine with that. I was just, our meeting is going to be on the 18th then? Is that the,
Well, yes, because the previous Monday's a holiday.
okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I
So,
won't be able to make the 18th, but that's okay.
that's okay, but if you can make the visioning subcommittee meeting, that would be
I can
great.
Yes, I can make the 4th.
And Liz, is that a time that you will be able to be available? Okay, that's really great, because it's important that Liz be there, and we need to be helping her. So if she needs to play a role in these subcommittee meetings, I think. So, great.
Okay, thank you.
Is that all we need to discuss? I think, if any board member at any time has any thoughts or ideas, you need to share them with members of the subcommittee so that they can hear them and take them back to the group and proceed. So at any time, I know Marilyn, you're new to the subcommittee,
Right.
right? Yeah, okay. Well,
Marge?
whatever. Yes,
Did we discuss last time that I would be joining this committee as well?
yes, if you
Okay.
wanted to join it, yes.
And what time on October 4th?
Yeah, are you available at 1:30?
I think that works. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
If it's on Zoom.
Right. I think, can we do that on
Yeah.
Zoom, Mark? Yes.
Okay.
Makes it much easier for Lorelei right now. Yes. Okay, so I think we're good to go. And then the housing subcommittee, there's a lot going on with that, as Susan so adeptly proved to us that needs to be paid attention to. And that meeting generally was the second Wednesday of the month, I believe, or was it the first week of the month, Wednesday?
First Wednesday of the month
Yes, that's right.
at 3:30.
Yep. So, are you still all in favor of continuing that time to meet? David, you're involved in that.
Wait a minute, I missed that. What was it?
The housing subcommittee meetings, were the
Yes.
first Wednesday of the month at 3:30.
Yes.
Okay, are you good with that? Continue with
Yes.
that? And I think
So-
Gary might have stepped up for that too, if
I
at
guess
all
he did.
possible.
We're talking about October, correct?
Yes.
First Wednesday. Got it. All right, thank you.
Okay, yeah, that's right, because there's always the Chima meeting at 2:00, and I remember, and that generally, we'll see. Patty Hunt may be with us later on. I alerted her to the fact that Anna Houston would be joining us today, sometime after 2, and doing a presentation for us on Littleton housing. And I know Patty is still not up to being out and about, but we can let her know that the board is planning on getting together anyway, and hopefully she'll be able to be with us.
Patty's here right now.
Is she in here now? Oh, good.
Yep.
Patty, are you there? I see that she is signed in. Yep.
She's muted.
You're muted, Patty. Oh, wonderful to see you.
I'm
to see-
here.
Good to see you.
I'm still alive.
Oh, we are,
Although I should have been dead.
yeah, you've been through a lot, so I'm thrilled to see you.
I may be able to get to the meeting on the 3rd if there's, of course, I was the one that posted the meetings. I will try and put one together because I am doing better. Might not last a long time, but I might just pull us together. First of all, so I can meet who else is on the board. And because there was a lot of information from Sue today, which was very helpful for me. So I will try and do that meeting if nothing happens between now and then.
That's great.
So I'll be doing my therapy 3 times a week here, making progress. And if anything changes, I'll let you know, but I will try and make that meeting and send the agenda in to Liz so that it can get posted on time.
And that's,
Great to see everybody.
Patty, that's the 6th of October. That Wednesday is the 6th.
October 6th.
Yep.
Well, see, days don't mean much to me anymore.
Well, I think I heard you. I don't know if I heard you incorrectly or whatever, but it is the 6th. So
Well, I'll get it in the last week of September so it can get posted in advance.
And Susan has been really been paying attention to most of the things that are going on. So if you have questions, I'm sure she wouldn't mind if you gave her a call. So
I'm sure she wouldn't.
no. Oh,
Yes,
so,
please do. Or
yeah.
please do, or send an email or something. Yeah.
I mean, there's
Okay.
just so much to be paying attention to. It would be nice to have, a few hands on involved in that, I think.
Yeah,
So,
maybe we'll spread the duties out a little more.
and it will be interesting to see what Anna Houston has in her presentation today about Littleton housing too.
Yeah,
So,
that's why I came.
yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you very
So
much.
nice to see you, Patty. Really nice to see you.
Yeah, don't go. She's not going away, I don't think. She's going to stick around for Anna's presentation, I hope.
Good to be seen.
Yes. Oh, it's good to see you. Trust me. Very good. So, okay. Do we have any other comments or any discussion about, we were talking about the senior center, but the housing issues also are very, important. I think the news about the development of the IBM property and the possibility even, I agree with Susan, when it's even a consideration of an assisted living type of place right there in that pretty central part of town, convenient for people to get to and from. It would be a wonderful, wonderful thing, but that's way down the road, but it's exciting to even think about, so.
I have one other thing to add. It has to do with housing, not necessarily affordable, although there are affordable units as part of the project, is the Hager Homestead.
Oh, yes. What's happening with that?
Okay, well, I'm on their mailing list. I'm not interested in buying into it, but I'm on their mailing list for their newsletter there. And they purchased the property in middle of August. They have the land, they've got their permits, they're watching prices of lumber. They had to get a certain amount of capital from membership, et cetera, et cetera. They're very positive that they will be breaking ground sometime this fall, although the fall is moving along. They have sold all the market value units.
Wow, already.
Yes. But they do, that's what it was worded as. Now, I don't know if that includes all the units in what was more like an apartment building than, because they had the housing, small housing units out in the back, and then the front had more like a garden style apartment
Mhm.
part to it. But there are affordable units in there, and I've somewhere in my notes I have how many units that were tiered affordable. But those evidently they have not done anything about.
Well, wasn't it contingent that they had to sell the units in order to be able to break ground and do the project? They
Well,
needed to know those units ahead of time.
their lender was requiring maybe not to completely having sold, but they had to have a certain amount of capital developed.
Right. Yeah.
Left it. And evidently they have reached or have reached close enough in that goal that they're satisfying the lender. And she said, the letter says we've collected the capital from membership and we anticipate groundbreaking in the fall.
When you mentioned that, it reminded me that, do you all recall that we voted, they participated, came to our meeting at one point, and we recommended that they increase the percentage of affordable units?
Right. And
Which they agreed
right.
with us, and they did it. So that to me was very exciting, that even happened.
Anna will remember what the numbers were. I have it somewhere, but I don't know where it is at the moment.
Bring it up, maybe ask her.
Because it had tiered affordability too. It had a certain number at 80% and a certain number, I think it went as low as 60%. Can't remember if it went lower than that though.
It was very varied.
Right.
I mean, that's what the planning board pushed for.
Right. There was quite a range.
More affordable.
Right.
And they succeeded in that. I mean, It was a lot of manipulation.
Right.
It was certainly a successful story, I think. That was probably one of the better ones that happened.
And in watching this, talking about successful stories and in watching an unsuccessful story, in watching the planning board, I guess it was last week, they're very upset with Weber Village because it didn't produce any affordable units that were available for seniors. It was built under the bylaw of senior residential, but it hasn't really met that. And planning board was very upset about that. And they're having the developer come back to explain some of it because he was supposed to target seniors and they want to know what he really did do or how did he target seniors. Anyway, that's off topic. Sorry.
If I recall when we voted on that in town, I know as part of FinCom, we were concerned about that article when we were looking at it, of the way it was written and that we were putting a lot of faith in our developers, good faith, right? And that's sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But I would be curious to see what he has to say about why that didn't work out in this case, because that is a great piece of property. The units look small and maintainable, and it's unfortunate to hear that. So.
Right, and the planning board pointed out that the same thing worked at Jones Meadow, and how come it couldn't work at Weber Village, which is in so much more of a more accessible place for seniors.
I just hope it wasn't because of money. That's the last thing we want to hear.
Right.
Right. That's usually the case, right? So.
Yep.
And then the question becomes, how do you avoid having it happen again in the future?
Right. And I think that's what the planning board really wants to avoid now. I think they realize that's whatever that was maybe a stumbling block to it. They want to be able to address it.
Yeah. I don't know. Every time I drive by there, I think, I'm going to swing in there because I haven't swung into that development yet to drive through, but it certainly, looks nice from the main road.
Yep.
Yeah. So. Okay,
Marge,
yes.
Anna's here. Would you like me to?
Oh, great. I think we're ready, pretty much ready for her. So that's perfect. Perfect timing. Thank you, Liz.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can't see you yet, but we sure will, I'm sure.
All right.
Hi, Anna. Thank
Hi.
you so much for coming and for sharing this with us. Susan has been bringing us up to date on what's going on with a lot of things about housing and et cetera in town. So you might be getting some questions after your presentation from some of them. Who knows? But anyway,
That sounds
welcome.
great. Well, thank
Yes.
you very much. Thank you to everyone for being here this afternoon. And yes, Susan, you have some terrific answers and commentary. So thank you on behalf of the planning board. Maybe you should consider running in the future.
No. No.
Well, hello to everyone. I have a presentation on housing that is affordable. And may I go ahead and share?
Yep, Liz is handling all of that, so she's nodding her head, yes.
Okay, terrific. And as I won't be able to see if all the folks on the call, so if there are any burning questions, please go ahead and voice those. Okay, so this presentation is one that I created a couple of months ago and started sharing because I think there were a lot of questions related to housing in Littleton, affordability, what did it really mean? And I was hearing a lot of terms and wanted to make sure that we all had a foundation to be able to speak about it. And so that's part of why I created this presentation. I will cover what housing is that is affordable, our housing gaps, the tools that we have available to us, and then how to go about building housing that Littleton wants. So to begin with, a definition of affordability, I think can be a little misunderstood or miscommunicated. And so I think a really good way to think about affordability is to say that housing is affordable when a rent or mortgage is 30% or less of a household's income, period. So regardless of where somebody's income is, this is a golden rule to be able to say that a housing unit, whether it's a home or a rental, is affordable for a household. So that's the definition I'll be using. Another word that's really important to talk about is area median income, AMI. It's a really useful tool, and it basically allows us to understand the amount of housing that one can afford. And so AMI means that at 100% AMI, half of the households earn less than that amount and half earn more than that amount. So in Littleton, the 100% AMI is that $84,600 for an individual is that 100% AMI, and $120,800 is the AMI for a family of four. Again, and that 100% means that half the folks will earn less than that, half the folks will earn more than that. So in typical terms, when you hear the term AMI, it's reference to a range of categories. And those categories are that for 80% or less AMI, that tends to be households with lower incomes. 80 to 120% AMI is middle incomes, and more than 120% is higher incomes. And if you'll notice the little numbers above certain words, those are my footnotes. So everything that I have in here with data, there is the source at the end of the document if anybody wants to dig into it further. So I'm going to talk about the three different income categories and what is possible to purchase or rent, and where we stand in terms of availability in Littleton. So the first one is that less than 80% AMI households, the maximum annual income in this category is up to $67,700. A sampling of the types of positions of people that we know in Littleton, because we interact with them on a daily basis, or we know them as friends and neighbors, restaurant service workers, childcare providers, recent college graduates with entry-level positions, a senior on Social Security income. These are all folks who are examples of individuals who would have incomes in this particular category. So anyone in this particular income category, the maximum home sales price that they could afford is no more than $202,900 for a 1 to 2 bedroom home. The maximum affordable rent for someone in this income category is $1,622 a month for a 1 bedroom. When I took a look over the last quarter as to what types of housing units would be available, what I found was that there are no market rate homes in Littleton sold in the last quarter for less than $307,000. So that means that anyone in this income category could not afford a home in Littleton. That doesn't come as a surprise to us, but this is the data to support that. Likewise, for rental units, the least expensive 1 bedroom rental available was $1,735 a month, and that unit had a 2.5 month wait. So there aren't any market rate rentals available in Littleton either. Moving on to the next income category of 80 to 120% AMI, the maximum annual income in this range is $67,701 to $101,500. Again, some sample positions of people that we know could be HVAC mechanics, restaurant managers, engineers, financial advisors, and for town employment perspective, many of our school teachers, police officers, and firefighters. The maximum home sales price that folks in this particular income category could afford for a 1 to 2 bedroom home is between $202,900 up to $330,700. Affordable rent ranges from $1,622 to $2,467 a month for a 1 bedroom that could be afforded for folks in this income range. In Littleton, again, looking at the data of homes sold in the last quarter, is that only 2 of the 44 market rate homes in Littleton were priced less than $330,700. So that means that the other 42 were priced above that amount and not able to be afforded by folks in this particular household income category. In terms of rentals, there were really only 2 market rate rentals that were listed for this range of $1,622 to $2,467. And again, one of them had a 2.5 month wait. Finally, moving on to the upper income households ranging in income of more than $101,500. Folks in this particular income category are very few town personnel make more than this amount. And that data is found in the town's annual report that actually lists everyone's salaries and wages. Others in town would be attorneys, doctors, folks in the computer and tech world who would be able to earn in this particular income range. For individuals who earn more than $101,500, they can afford literally anything that's on the market as long as it does not exceed 30% of their household income. But everything that was sold, what was available for rental, they could afford as long as it's not more than 30% of their household income. So in summary, this particular slide shows all the 3 different income ranges, less than 80% AMI, the 80 to 100, and the greater than 120. And the gap here is that this less than 80% AMI needs homes less than 202,000, rentals less than 1,622. The middle income households need homes that they can afford in this particular range of 203 to 330, and rentals in this particular price range. And again, folks greater than 120% AMI can afford anything as long as it's not more than 30% of their household income. In terms of actual number of units that we need, down here, there was some work that was produced for the Affordable Housing Trust that identified that 44 housing units are needed for households that are in the 60% and less of AMI. And so that is an identified need in the town. In terms of the middle income, I would actually say that it's potentially hundreds of housing units that are needed, and I can explain why. So I'm going to briefly address that there are many reasons that more housing that is affordable and moderately priced in Littleton is needed. The first reason is because our population needs are changing. As I'm sure you're all very well aware, the senior sell down is very challenging, given that if a senior would like to be able to sell their larger home in which a family was raised, there really aren't any housing options that are economically feasible, as I just pointed out in the previous slides. So that's a huge issue. And if we want to hear specifically what Littleton seniors would like to see in their housing, there's this link to a YouTube video that was done a couple of years ago and is very helpful. That was made originally to be able to show prospective developers what we want in town for seniors. The second reason would be that our workforce needs to be able to afford to live here if they want to. Doesn't say everybody wants to, but if they want to, there are a few options. Another report that was done identified that 7,717 individuals are employed in Littleton, but they live elsewhere. That's a lot of people that commute in and out of our town. And so it used to be also that, as I understand it from folks who have shared their stories with me, that town personnel used to be able to afford to live here and very rarely are able to do so. From our firefighters to our police force, teachers, you name it, they just have to live further away in order to be able to have a home that they can afford. Another reason is that currently Littleton's housing stock is geared toward higher incomes, and it's sort of like the chicken and the egg. Do you have the income, so then that's the type of housing that's built there, or is that the type of housing that's built and then subsequently people who can afford it move into those homes? So here's some data from the census that I found very helpful. This is 2019 data, and it says that in 28.2% of Littleton households earn less than $67,000 a year. So this is the 80% or less AMI category, 2% of Littleton households. That's down 2 percentage points from the prior 2 years when that work was done. And then I'm going to jump to the last bullet. 60.3% of Littleton households earn more than $100,000 a year, and that's up 2 percentage points in the last 2 years. So if we're wondering where the lower income households went, they might have gone away. They might have gone to another town and instead are being replaced by folks in higher income households.
Mm-hmm.
That middle bullet point is for the middle income. Only 11.4% of Littleton households earn between $68,000 and $100,000. And that shows the middle squeeze. And there are very few options in terms of housing for folks in this particular income category. So if we don't have the housing, they can't live here. So when I did the math, essentially, it turns out that to be able to, let's say, move that number of 11.4%, let's say up to 20%, that would be about 300 housing units that would need to be created in order to bump that number up. And I have referenced down here in the footnotes a study that was done that in terms of what makes a healthy community, that it's nice to be able to have a community that has between 20 and 50% of households within each of the 3 different income brackets. Well, we have that in our less than 80% AMI But we don't have that in our middle income because we're only at 11.4%, and we're way over from, say, that 50% mark on the upper income households. So that's information that I found to be pretty interesting and goes to show where our current housing stock needs to be changed.
Right.
Lastly, our former town administrator, Keith Bergman, used to say that we want to be masters of our own destiny as it relates to housing. And so every decade since 2080, let me back up. Every decade since 1980, the town's population has increased by 1,000 people. And so that means as we are planning by 2030, Littleton will increase as well by another 1,000. And so part of what Keith had really talked about was we need to be able to say where that population, should ideally be settling. And in the master plan, it very clearly identifies that we as residents approve that master plan, and we want the growth in recognized activity areas, such as in the common, around the train station, in older commercial industrial areas that are not being used, and in the point. So those are the areas that when we have developers wanting to come into Littleton, that we should say, okay, these are the areas that in the master plan we have identified. Please build there. So in summary, future housing in Littleton is for our community members. And that means either folks who currently live here or folks who commute into the community. They're folks that we get to see every day, whether a retired senior, a widow, widower, a divorced parent, a young adult, perhaps a single parent with a disabled child. What? Well, we want housing that is for purchase and rent that is affordable for folks at less than 80% AMI and less than 120. Where? In designated areas that residents accepted in the master plan. And why? Because we care about our seniors, we want a strong labor supply, and we want housing for households less than 120% AMI instead of just the McMansions. And these words, by the way, as I've talked with folks around town, are words from others. Folks have said, we have a Gold Coast going, we have McMansions being built, and we want something else. And because we want to be masters of our own destiny.
Oh.
So Littleton has both individuals and tools to facilitate housing that's affordable. We have our select board, a town administrator, our planning board and town planner. We have the Affordable Housing Trust. We have housing subcommittee from you all, from the Council on Aging. We have a community preservation committee that has some dollars that can be allocated to housing that's affordable. And we have a housing authority. So lots of individuals who can affect what we do. We also have lots of tools available to us. We have relevant bylaws that have been passed by us as residents over the last 5 years, including the Senior Residential Development Bylaw, which has been amended a couple of times so that we make sure that we get what we want. We also passed this last spring, the Senior Apartments Bylaw. We have inclusionary housing for any development. They have to have at least 10% affordable. And the accessory dwelling unit bylaw as well was passed in recent years. We have a designation by the state as a housing choice community that includes benefits for the town of Littleton. We do have subsidized housing. We provide vouchers for rentals at Mill Pond, Pine Tree Park, and Littleton Green. And we have just a few, I believe it's like less than a dozen ownership units that are available as subsidized housing. We obviously have a slew of state and federal fair housing laws, including a recent state law amended Chapter 40A on voting thresholds. So rather than having 2/3 vote required for anything related to an affordable development, that is now down to 50%. So how could housing that is affordable get created? Here are some town strategies that I have shared. with the planning board, and that is strategies to have housing less than 80% AMI and less than 120%. We need to bring in nonprofit developers who focus on households in the less than 80% income range. A typical developer, they're going to be focused on their margin, their bottom line, and that is their prerogative. That is how they work, and that's okay. But there is a group of developers who are focused on non-profit development, which means they can focus on being able to actually build housing for individuals who have the lower income range. We can engage developers with a track record of building for middle income folks. If we try to attract developers who only want to build the very large homes that is only going to be available to folks in the greater than 120% AMI, that's not what we need right now. We could also, as a town, contribute some town-owned parcels. And we need to incorporate local preferences in approving housing developments. And we also should be exploring new technologies in home building. So those are some potential strategies. Resident strategies. So how could housing that is affordable get created? I think by understanding who needs housing and the data behind it, such as this, the AMI and the demographics, and to also plan for the growth using the master plan as a guide. And when it comes down to your vote at town meeting, to support housing units that are developed for incomes less than 120% AMI. I heard you all talking earlier about Hager Homestead, and I do have a slide on that because this is something that was passed under the most recent senior residential development bylaw that asks for up to 50% affordable units in any kind of an SRD. It's going to be located right across from Littleton Cafe. And so this particular development has 24 housing units total, and that is 15 in the multi-unit building and then another 9 in the small cottages in front of that. Of these 24 housing units, 40% will be affordable. That is 10 units, and they are 1 bedrooms, except where there's an asterisk. So using the graphic that I've shown before around the less than 80% AMI, between 80 to 100 for middle income and greater than 120, what is going to get built at Hager Homestead is 2 units at less than 80% AMI and 6 units for the middle income between 80 and 120%. And that's going to include 3 1-bedroom units and 3 2-bedroom units. And then there will be 2 units at 150% AMI, because in the bylaw, it does allow for housing to be anywhere up to 150% AMI. So I'm going to pause for just a moment and ask everyone to just read this text. So as I was creating this presentation for the first time back in July, I found this. It happened to be in an editorial in the Boston Globe, and I've cited it here, and it was for Boston. But I think it actually makes sense for Littleton as well, because we do have the need to be able to do something about this, or we do have the wherewithal to do something about housing that's affordable. We just need to be able to come together and think outside the box. So that's what I would ask everyone who has listened to this presentation, is to work with folks that you saw listed to think outside the box to create more housing that's affordable here in Littleton. So thank you to the Historical Society for allowing me to use this lovely photo of what used to be housing here on Great Road. And then I will also quickly show that here are all my end notes And I also include in the appendix all of the AMI charts so that you can see specifically that there are so many different ways of looking at this depending on your household and depending on your income. I just took a really basic, simple example. So that's all in there for anyone who wants to dig into it. And I can get that presentation to you all to share. Thank you for your time.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
I know.
Wow.
Exactly. Whoa, Anna, what a great job. You
I didn't
did.
have any questions, so
Oh, my goodness.
I hope I didn't miss any.
Oh, you said you were going to share that presentation with us. I think there's a lot to think about and digest. It's very thorough. Yeah, it's Marilyn.
Anna, would you send a copy of that either to Marge or to me so that I can put it in the minutes explicitly, because it's very detailed. And I think that's the best way for all of us to understand it, to be able to see it and read it. Because just scanning it back now it's good, but I think it'd be better if we could all really digest it.
Yes, I will send a copy of it to Marge.
Yeah, actually, you could send it to myself or Liz. Send it to Liz and then Liz would like it too, I'm sure. So, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, so why don't you send it to her and then she'll distribute it out to us.
Okay, certainly.
So, how's that sound?
It is currently available on the planning board website, but I've updated a little bit and added that Hager Homestead slide. So I will send the most updated version to you, Marge, and to Liz.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Then I'm going to hold off on the minutes till I get it.
Okay.
Okay.
Gary has his hand up.
Yeah, no, that was fantastic. Probably the best presentation I've seen regarding the subject. So a couple things. I wish we could just take that snippet of the recording and run it on LCTV.
Oh, that's true.
But a few things. Why are we, I know a few years ago, like you had mentioned, we are 50% affordable. Why are we not at 100%, saying that we have the flexibility to go up to 100% of affordable housing? That way, when we find an area that it really should be affordable housing, when we're talking about the common in those areas, we don't even have to play games with the developer. We can go all the way up to 100% if we want. So I don't know if that's something that's ever been considered going in front of town again. It gives us more flexibility. And I understand why we have to use the word up to. We want that flexibility, right? We don't want to get locked in, for sure.
Right.
And I realize that's not a favorable stance with real estate agents and developers, but it gives us the most flexibility for these areas of town. And what are we talking about here? You just presented what we're trying to increase. If we keep going at this 50% game and then allowing developers to do 40 or 30%, not even the 50, what are we doing? I just don't understand. We're doing something, but boy, we could really hit this a lot harder with a campaign, I think.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate what you're saying, and I think even at the 50%, it was a hard win at town meeting. But it's certainly something that I will discuss with the planning board as to what more can be done on that realm. And I think when we have the opportunity to work with future nonprofit developers, I think that will be a much easier go, because that is their whole mantra. They are focused on being able to provide that affordability.
I have a question. Anna, do you have any statistics on how many people that are employed by the town don't live in the town? Because I know at one point a large percentage of the teachers did. I don't know if that's still true or not. So,
I haven't looked into that, Mark, but that is certainly something that I can see if it would be available to be shared or not. I would assume that privacy might, be a part of the reason why I wouldn't be able to access that kind of data, but I can certainly ask.
I bet
So at the moment, I'm sorry, Gary.
I bet it relates to old Littleton. We had a lot of teachers retire right over the last 5 years, and a lot of those individuals we're talking about probably started in the 80s when it was affordable. So now I'm curious, the new teachers that are coming in, are they living in Littleton? I'd be surprised. I'd be
Probably
surprised.
not. One of the comments that was made by some folks at CHAPA is a housing advocate organization, and they are statewide. And I showed the presentation to them as well because they helped me through some of the big concepts and how to really synthesize them. And, one of the things that they said as a story was that residents need to understand that given our traffic in the metro area, and that teachers have choice, and that at some point, if teachers just say, you know what, on a really bad snow day, maybe they say, I've just been in the car for 2 hours getting home, forget it. I'm not going to live 2 hours away from my work anymore. I'm going to find someplace closer. And so being able to attract top talent is a huge reason for being able to keep housing that's affordable available to people who want to live here. Again, not everyone wants to live in the same town where they work, but if they do want to, there isn't even that choice right now. So that's something that they ask that we and all residents keep in mind, is that if our wonderful teachers, firefighters, and other staff just get fed up with the commute, or they just might say, forget it, I'll go someplace closer to home.
So that might be an interesting survey for the planning board or someone to conduct among the town employees and figure out where they live and why. Or I don't know if it should be the planning board or some other organization, but it might be interesting it helps bolster your argument, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions?
I'll do one more. I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead.
I took so many notes. So I think we could also think about doing a push. We buy land, the town buys land, and I know they hate getting into the real estate business, but if we can't get the developers we need, I mean, we buy land for open space, we buy land for conservation and all these other things. This should be a heavy consideration for buying land to develop. If this is what we're really serious about, then we have full control of, we don't have to worry about this 50%, 60%, right? I think that's another thing. It did kind of entered my mind when you were talking about, especially these areas where it makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, I totally agree. And I think that you as a FinCom member have a great deal of pull to be able to advocate for that as well, Gary, because part of it is that whole notion of where should the town be investing its money, right? And I would see that very much as an investment. And it's not to say that it needs to be a ginormous parcel. It can be a small parcel. It could be 1 acre, 2 acres, to be able to put a couple of units here and there so that they are in different parts of town as well. It doesn't have to be all concentrated in one area if the town doesn't own property in that area. So that's something to consider. And the Affordable Housing Trust is I think, probably the group that's most responsible for identifying whether or not that's something that can happen in town.
Well, shame on us for not knowing what you just presented, because it took, I mean, that was a shock to me reading some of those numbers. It really was. I mean, I kind of knew that things were out of control, but that's a whole separate out of control that we're dealing with, so thank you.
Absolutely.
So I was actually talking to a friend of mine who, his daughter's a school teacher up in Burlington, Vermont. And they actually have a program where, I don't know if it's the town or like the affordable house, where people can apply and buy a house through them. Basically, they have a housing stock that basically, it sounds like you can be approved for a house, buy it through we'll call it the housing trust, but then when you go to sell the house, you have to sell it back to the housing trust, right? So that they have basically a rotating stock of affordable housing that they control. And you get to sell it back at a certain percentage of market rate or something. I'm not sure exactly. So when the prices go up, you do, profit from the increase, but you're not, being raked over the coals one way or the other. So it might be an interesting model to look into as well. I don't really know. I just know, a brief snippet from talking to him, but.
You know what town it was, Mark?
Burlington, Vermont.
Burlington, okay. All right, well, if you learn anything more, please send it my way.
I will see what I can find out.
Okay, terrific, because that is, again, something else that we can explore some more.
I think another thing that we should look at too is when there's a subdivision that comes before the town and they want the cul-de-sac or they want to put more houses in and they agree to give so many acres for open space, it always seems that the open space that we get is wetlands that we can't do anything with. And maybe there could be a change there that if you're going to have a subdivision of 40 units or something and you're going to give X number of acres for open space, that some of that open space be buildable and not all wetlands. And then maybe we could look at the Affordable Trust being able to build something in a subdivision with a lot of people, but it's using that land instead of all the town ever gets is open space wetlands.
Turkey Estates is a good example of that.
Exactly.
And these are all great ideas in terms of, as I said at the end, thinking outside the box. I mean, we all need to continue to share ideas and thoughts and try to build on those. So thank you.
And I like your idea of town-owned land that we already have. There's land down along Long Lake. There's a lot of little, 1 acre lots and half-acre lots that the town owns. And maybe those could be used for affordable units to be built. If you take a look at everything that's down there, and it's not all wetlands.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yep. Yes, and again, based off of the needs that were identified in that video from a few years ago, as it relates to seniors aren't asking for a lot of space. I mean,
that's right.
Like 1,000 square feet or less. So, yeah.
And there's a development, I don't know what the name of it is. It's in Westford, where they built for seniors their small houses, tiny houses. You could check with Kathy in the assessor's office. She has the name of the place, and it's 900 square feet, the houses are. And they're all put together on a subdivision piece of land, but there's 900 square feet for each unit and very affordable for seniors. I had talked about it with her when I was still working there, so she may have the name of it, but it's in Westford and it's doing very well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Anna? Matthew, did I see your hand up at one point?
Yeah, I was going to just add to sort of respond to some of what the questions that Gary asked. I think I've heard from several people on the planning board that the town getting into the business of being a developer is a terrible idea. And so, yeah, we should absolutely use some of the land that the town owns, but I think that the best possible solution is to find a nonprofit developer, because that also solves the problem that when presented with the option of building 25% affordable, at least the conversations I've heard, and Anna, I'm sure, has heard many more than I have, they balk and say that it's impossible and they can't make any money and they got to do 10% or 15% and it's a fight, And if we had a nonprofit developer, they could do 50 and perhaps that would be palatable to everybody, especially if they got the land for inexpensively or free.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of where the conversation then comes into. So whose role is it to bring in that nonprofit developer? Because technically speaking, The planning board's role is to review applications once they come in, or to informally guide a developer who's interested. So is that our role? Is it the Affordable Housing Trust role? Is it the select board's role because it's town property? So therein sort of lies where we actually need to truly come together to figure out even that step.
Whose role? Yeah.
In some regards, it might make a lot of sense to pull that away from the planning board, just because I'm not going to call it a straight out conflict of interest, but
Exactly.
the people you get on that board can very well be developers involved in that community or have a relationship with developers. It could hurt them by certain things. So I think it's naturally should be taken out of the planning board's hands.
Yep. Thank you. You said it much more eloquently than I did.
I'm up for the fight. I don't.
So yeah, so then that leaves Affordable Housing Trust and the Select Board to really work to define that. And I know that that we have members that have been working on it. So I don't know if that's a priority of the Select Board and the Affordable Housing Trust. Matthew, I know you're on both. Has that been discussed at all?
In general terms, yes, and I think everybody is in favor of it. In practical terms, we have never had a specific discussion about this process. And it sounds like asking the Affordable Housing Trust to start identifying developers and or land that could be used would be a great thing for the Affordable Housing Trust to do and bring it to the Select Board. I think that everyone is interested in making it move forward. And as you pointed out, nobody really has taken the charge of, I'm going to be, we're going to be the board that does this, that makes it happen. So now maybe it will.
I mean, you said, Anna, that to even move that number 2%, it's an enormous amount of housing that has to go in. Is that, I forget what the number was, but it was kind of staggering, like, wow.
Well, yeah. So to be able to move the middle income from say 11% to up to the minimum of 20% that is suggested as good for a community, that would be close to 300 homes. So
That's crazy. It's mind-boggling when you think about it.
It is. Wow. I'm so grateful that you let us know that you did this and you brought it to us. It is quite amazing and it is quite mind-boggling. That's where I feel I am. I mean, they say no question is a stupid one, so I'm going to ask this question or just make the statement. I never knew there was such a thing as a nonprofit developer.
yes.
And I don't even know that I understand what that entails. I mean, obviously I understand what nonprofit means, but I'm sure there's more to it than that, but I never even knew that existed. So
in addition to sending the presentation, I will send over a couple of snippets from what has been done over in Shirley in terms of a nonprofit developer working with a nonprofit organization to be able to build, I think it was a 42-unit development in Shirley. Senator Eldridge was a big part of making that happen as well. So I will send that along so folks can get a sense as to what that looks like and what it means.
oh, thank you. That'd be great.
Sure.
Yes, Marilyn.
Anna, I have a question. If you do a development of affordable housing, is there any way it can be only for Littleton residents and not all those coming from everywhere else? Because this is what we're all working for, is to help our own residents find a decent place to live. So why do we want to bring in from elsewhere and leave our residents out in the cold?
Federal fair housing laws require it. And so as a result, what we do have available to us as a tool is to be able to have a preference, but that's still only a percentage of the homes. And so there's various criteria that go into that, but there is allowable a certain percentage of the homes to be for Littleton or local residents. Yes.
That percentage is low though, isn't it?
Yeah, that just doesn't seem, why should we give up things when it can't be for our own, I don't mean this to sound selfish or anything like that, but it means we can't take care of our own.
Well, what we can do by taking care of folks in Littleton are some of those steps that I commented on, because just by building more, Littleton residents will, as a matter of fact, receive part of that housing as well. It can't be all of it though. It's just part of the federal rules, so.
And housing's only a piece of this. I mean, we can really go after the tax side of this too on our seniors.
That's what's killing me, Gary. We're thinking of leaving. And I think that's part of why so many Littleton people have left, is they can't afford the taxes.
All right. Any other questions for Anna? That was a wonderful presentation, Anna. Thank you again. So
you're very welcome. I'm glad I could come and do this and really appreciate your time.
No, I'm glad you brought it to our attention at our last meeting and that I took good notes and remembered. I am, but oh my goodness, shocked.
I'm wondering, listening to Gary about getting it up on LCTV somehow.
Yeah.
Sue and I have a TV show. I don't know if we want to look at doing something like that in the future to get it out there.
Well, the boards need to see it first. I mean, will be required reading on FinCom. I'll make sure tomorrow night. I think just in general, and then, let the elected officials see what they can do.
Right.
And then we could start the groundswell but
if need be, yeah.
Good point. Thank you, Gary and Anita.
Yep. And Gary, if you'd like me to come to FinCom at any point in the future, I'm happy to do so.
Yeah, that might even be a better way. So, thank you.
Okay, certainly.
Let Anna hit the road.
Anna.
So, okay. All right, moving on. If we have no more questions for Anna. And again, thank you. It was certainly well worth it. And I'm sure Susan's mind and Patty, I think Patty was with us for quite a while there.
Yes.
We'll make sure that Patty gets a copy of it also. Yes, David. You're muted, David. You're muted.
Thank you. Just a technical question. Of course, if somebody would have played this Zoom meeting, they could catch that presentation from Anna. Is there a way that it can be kept separate so other people can use it, that we can easily access?
I'm sure Mark Croy could do something Kirby or something. You would have to figure that out though, but I'm sure that's worth exploring. I would guess.
Well, I mean, I was just thinking for our subcommittee, it would be nice if we could just access it easily to go through it. Because I know I have, I could watch our meeting again, but trying to scroll through and find it is not easily done on my.
You're going to get a copy of it, David. You'll get a hard copy of it.
All right.
Right.
That would help.
Yeah. We'll get a hard copy and that will be useful. I also, while she was going through it, I took some individual screenshots of some of the pages. So.
Yes.
Yeah. But Liz, we'll get a hard copy out or.
Well, that's of all the slides, but her oratory or whatever word you want to use for that was excellent. And I'd like to be able to access that also.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure we can figure that out.
Okay.
Somehow.
I already sent the request.
Here we go. Amber's doing her job. My gosh, that's above and beyond the call of duty. Thank you, Amber. Okay. So, hearing and no further questions or comments, are we ready to move on to the interim/director's report, including a COVID-19 update, at least after 11 days. We have a joint report. I'm sure the two, Liz and Nicole, have collaborated on this, but anyway. You're
I'm
on.
ready. Sure.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Marge, and thank you, everyone. So great to be back. Before I even jump in and start, I just want to say thank you for the very warm welcome that I've received, and special thank you to Nicole for jumping in as interim director again and keeping the ship on course, and Amy for picking up extra duties, and Sue. This department is so complex, and the logistics of the operations here, because not being just a senior center, we have our fingers in so many different pots. It's a lot, and so thank you, Amy, Nicole, and Sue, so much for keeping this ship going. I know it's not easy, so I definitely really appreciate it. Today, exciting news. The Littleton Social Club started back up again. For anyone who doesn't know what that is our social day program for folks at home who are either isolated or have mild dementia. It's a fun social program here, and it started back up, and it's been closed for 15, 16 months now. I think we had about 6 participants today, and it was really great to see the room full again. Those folks went downstairs for lunch because it was also the first day of the senior diner being back open for lunches. So Minuteman Senior Services came over. Minuteman is our partner in senior nutrition, and they brought some special cupcakes for the folks who were there for lunch today. So thank you to Minuteman Senior Services as well. In other news, I'm looking at my list here. This is administrative, but we had a donation come in at the very end of last week, and this will go to the select board for approval, but I just wanted to make you all aware of it. And this is a $2,500 donation from the John C. Morrison and Eunice B. Morrison Charitable Foundation. Now, they historically have given us a donation of this size about once or twice a year for the past, I don't know, several years. So we're very appreciative of this, and this usually would typically go into our revolving fund or our transportation gift fund or our outreach gift fund. So we'll see where this best fits, but it is very much appreciated from the Morrison Charitable Foundation. Let's see. Next on my list, I'm going a little speedy because I have to jump on the COVID task force meeting next. But I wanted to share my screen really briefly to do a quick update on our statistics. And Nicole, I'm kind of jumping into what you typically cover, but I just wanted to share what we worked on last week. Okay, let me know if everyone can see this Excel spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it? Okay.
Yep.
So this is from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, and this is what they used to use to document and keep track of all the department statistics for senior centers across Massachusetts. Last year, when COVID hit, Elder Affairs was forced to kind of update their systems and make a new procedure for how statistics are reported. So they did away with this form. So moving forward from today, you won't be seeing this form as it is anymore in your board packets. There is a new one, so let me bring that up. The new one is much more easy to read. So this is just a little bit manipulated, added some color to show the different categories. But this is the August statistics for our department. I think it's much more accessible to folks. It's so much easier to read. You can see clearly the categories. It's not so busy. So I hope this makes it a little easier to figure out what it is we're actually doing here. And this is pretty much all Amy and Nicole's work here. So you can see the under 60 statistics is in green down at the bottom. And then up here at the top, you can easily go through and see, okay, who called in for financial assistance or who called in for loaning medical equipment in the month of August. Any questions on the form so far?
Much easier. I agree with you, Liz.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, much
yeah.
easier to read. Yes.
Yeah,
Big
so
improvement.
from a staff perspective, I think we're all very excited to get rid of that other Excel spreadsheet. So let me stop my screen share here. Okay. The next thing on my list, and I jokingly said I've been here 11 days and I've been earlier, and I've been saying that to kind of try to slow myself down because I'm getting a little caught up in everything. But one of the big things that I've been working on this past week is updating the Mart contract. So Mart is who the Montechusett Regional Transport Authority. That's who we contract with for our vans and our drivers and driver training. They're our partner in that program. So we needed a new contract to be updated. So in working with the town administrator's office and Mart, we have a draft contract for the next 5 years that I'll go over with Nicole this week, and we'll see what we can add to it or tweak a little bit. One of the things I'm really looking at right now is historically we have not billed for any administrative oversight. So that is my time, Nicole's time, Amy's time in checking in with the drivers, doing the manifests, calling the riders. So historically we haven't been billing for that, and now that option is on the table. So I really think that's a great way to recoup some of the costs that are associated with running the program that we haven't before. So that will be in the works, and I'm thanking Nicole in advance for helping me out with this contract. And then, let's see, last on my list is a COVID update. So in last week's COVID-19 task force working group that the town has together right now, we learned that just about 74% of all Littleton residents are fully vaccinated. So we're trying to see how we can get that a little higher. And we were having a conversation about why some folks have not been vaccinated yet. And that led to the topic of trusted messengers. And I volunteered myself and Amy and Nicole as trusted messengers here to reach out to the folks in the community who are over the age, we're starting with over the age of 75, who have not been vaccinated, but we're checking in mainly to see if everyone has had access to the vaccine and see if there's any barriers that we can help them overcome as a trusted messenger. So we developed a script. Part of that is just checking in. Have you received the vaccine? Do you need transportation there? Do you need us to schedule you the homebound visit? We can do that for you. We can remove that technology barrier if that's not something you have access to. And then the other part is just relaying the information of where to find trusted, credible news. We found that in some of our calls so far, the individuals that have not received a vaccination have had someone in their life who they trusted, who have advised them not to for whatever reason. So not solely their doctor saying don't receive this, but another trusted person in their life. So we're hoping that by reaching out to folks as trusted messengers, hopefully that we can help move the needle a little bit on the statistics of who has not been vaccinated yet. There is going to be another task force meeting today, like I said, and we'll get some more information. They're hoping to have another Vax bus, I think it's called, come again, and I think maybe to Oktoberfest event that Parks and Rec is putting on. But that was really successful last time they had it. They got 54 people to get vaccinated from the Vax bus. So I think it's a great way to actually bring the vaccination to where people are at to help us get out of this mess. So that is mainly everything that was on my list for today. And apologies if I spoke too fast. I just got excited.
That's a lot. In 11 days, you wrapped your head around a lot of things so far.
Yeah.
So
Let's go.
I know. Yep. You go, girl. All right. Nicole, do you have anything to add?
I don't. I just think on behalf of all of the EHS staff, we are so glad to have Liz back. It's really nice to have the team together again. Liz always comes to us with great ideas and energy, and it's so nice to have her back. So we're all so glad. So I think that's all I have. Liz covered it all.
Great. I think the department's rocking and rolling. Things are on the move. So
Feels like it.
does it? Good. Okay. So I guess we need a motion to accept the interim director's report and the outreach, both reports, because we've kind of covered it all, I think, have we not?
I think
Amy-
updates.
Oh, Amy, I'm sorry. Do you have anything? I didn't have that. I just walked right by that and I apologize.
That's all right. That's okay. I just wanted to remind folks in the community that the Child Care Subsidy Program is still accepting applications. We've had some inquiries come in by phone. We've had some people apply for it initially and been approved. There's only been one application that's been able to be brought to fruition where we've gotten a provider on board, and the provider can actually start submitting attendance sheets for billing purposes. But we haven't yet started them off, but so this program does end in December. So I would like to get some more people enrolled in the program. So if you know of anybody or just help with spreading the word, that would be extremely helpful. The emergency rental assistance program and the rental assistance program here in town, we're still accepting applications for those as well. And we have the new mortgage assistance program that came on, I think, in August. So we have one new applicant for that program. And as for those of you that know, that's for deed restricted properties only. So just to make that note. Deadline for applications is September 30th. So people that are interested in the tax relief for the elderly and disabled need to submit those applications to me by September 30th. That is the cutoff. And we have our caregiver support group that is going to be resuming for the first time in person since the shutdown in March of 2020. So I'm very excited to see the folks that typically attend that group. That'll be on September 26th at 6 o'clock in the senior diner. That is something that registration is required in advance. So just contact our office to sign up. And
Amy, do you think an article in the Action Unlimited in town would be helpful about a couple of those programs that you want to get more news out?
Probably, yeah. That's actually a really good idea.
Maybe Lorelei and I can talk about that. I don't know if it's not the Action Unlimited. It goes to every household in town, and maybe that's a good way to share some of that information and get it out so people take advantage of it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but all right. Anybody could call you and get the information, right? Yeah. Okay.
And Amy, if you want to, Sue and I can talk about TREAD and the other programs on our show again this month if you want us to.
You're showing it.
We'll be at the end of September though, so that's not going to help much with TREAD.
No, but it would work for the abatement programs through the assessor's office.
For which one?
The abatement program, so the 17D, 41C.
Oh, yes. Right.
Those forms need to be submitted to the assessor's office by April of 2022, if my memory serves me correct.
Correct.
So that would be something that we could possibly explore talking about on the show to help spread the word.
Liz and Marge and I had talked about that, and on our program when I did that whole program, we were going to look to see if Mart could pull out that whole section and put it up on YouTube and Facebook.
Okay.
The whole section, and then we can talk about it again in our meeting.
That sounds like
okay. All right.
Okay.
And that wraps up my report.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad that you, corrected me and caught me. So I'm so sorry. I feel bad.
No worries.
Okay. Okay, now we're ready for a motion to accept the reports, I think. So I will entertain that motion. Anyone want to make a motion to accept?
So
the
moved.
reports? Thank you, Gary. Mark, who's going to second that?
I'll second it. Mark actually,
Thank you.
I made it good.
Thank you. All those in favor, please raise your hand. I think we still got 5. Yeah, we're good. All right. Thank you kindly. Okay. All right. Is there any other business to come before the board? And do we have any public people, anybody from the public lives with us still, or were there people? Let's see. I don't think so.
Anna's here still.
Who?
Anna.
Oh, okay. I don't think she probably is fine and does not need to say anymore. I'm not sure, but sometimes we have people from the public. Lately, it has happened occasionally in your absence when we had a meeting. We did have a person from the public once or twice, so.
That's exciting.
Yeah. All right. If not, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Gary made the motion. Marilyn, who's seconding?
Anita?
I'll second it.
Anita is seconding. Okay, thank you. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting? And our next meeting will be on October 18th. It's late in the month, so pay attention. So thank you all very much.